All right, I think I'm recording. But I did also send you a video specifically on frame labels. So I uploaded it somewhere. You guys have a link somewhere for that. So I did actually record a video that walked through creating buttons and then walked through programming to go to frame labels. All right. So point is, what you do is I'm just going to, start a new layer here, and I'm going to call this frame labels. And then I'm just going to go in and name each one of my labels, or each one of my frames, I'm sorry. So in order to do that, I have to put a blank keyframe on everything. So I have to do, my right click and say insert blank keyframe. And then I would go into my properties panel over here, and it says here label. And then I would just name my label. Pull this down. So I just go in here and name my labels. So let's say this one, I don't remember what he had, that first button. Let's say Adderley. So I'm going to name this Adderley. And, you can name it whatever you want. It's not the point. The point of it is that you're naming this specific frame for right now. And so if I hit return, it'll come up here and say Adderley. And then I would go in and do that for wherever I have, want to place my content. So I can do another insert blank frame and then call this maybe Coltrane or something like that. So, and it should relate to whatever the content is that you're going to have on there. All right. And so that's all there is to that. And then you would place your content, with that frame label. So now here's the point of this, is that then when I go into my action script, the way this is written is my Adderley button here now, that one that he created that is going to frame 10. Instead of saying frame 10, I have this going to Adderley. And naming conventions is crucial. So you do have to have, if you have a capital A here, you have to have a capital A in here. And then the name of anything is always in quotes. So it would be a quote and then Adderley.
And you wouldn't have to specify that's the name of the keyframe on the frame layer.
This is it.
Yes. Oh, so you don't have to specify that it's frame label _ Adderley or something like that?
No, and in fact, no, because it's whatever you named it. And in fact, the one of the things too is that if you have a button, say the button's named Adderley _ button, you cannot go in and then name this Adderley _ BTN. All right, so this has to have a completely different name here, but just saying something like Adderley or whatever, just something so that you know what the content is on there is fine. And then down here for, this particular button, this would be Coltrane. And again, spelled the same way. And now what happens just by doing this, if for some reason, and I'm going to, take this all out in a second because I want to kind of go back to my initial, what I want to do is get into the HTML5. But if for some reason now I had to move all this stuff down for whatever reason, let me just do, say, from here to here. I don't want to take my buttons with me, so I don't know why that's there. And I need to move this down somewhere. Now it doesn't matter when I go and I click on that button, it's still going to go to Adderley. So I don't have to change anything in my code.
Interesting.
Automatically I click, and now it's going to go to Adderley. Now this probably, I'll play it, but it's probably not going to function because now I've kind of messed a few things up, but we'll see. I don't know.
Is there a way to do that? How would you do that if you wanted to move a movie clip to have it be on its specific frame? When you're, it's not on the main timeline, it's on, a sub timeline, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, what you would want to do with that is you would probably want to set, you could still use the frame labels in a sub timeline, but you would want to create the buttons on that sub timeline to function with that sub timeline because otherwise, because you cannot do like a button in here on your main timeline that goes to some kind of a frame label or something like that in a sub timeline, or say, and by sub timeline, I'm talking about like a movie clip,
or like,
that you now have all this action going and you've brought that
or,
in,
I mean,
right?
or like, have a button tell an image to cycle or something like that.
Right. So, well, I mean, yeah, but it still has to be such that it's from going, if you have the button on the main timeline, it's got to go to something in the main timeline. And if you want to do a button, say in a movie clip or something, like have some action kind of happen inside of a movie clip when something happens, when you click on some button or create some key thing, then it has to be within that movie clip or it's not going to function. You can't call from here to some movie clip. That's what I'm kind of saying.
Okay. By the way, Alan, you might want to tell your roommate that we can see them.
Pardon me?
Alan might want to tell his roommate that we can see him.
All right, so right here, if you just click on now on Adderley, it's going to jump to Adderley. Now, nothing's there because I didn't extend anything out, right? So I didn't extend the background and stuff, see on the timeline. But you see how that just went to Adderley, right? And even though I took this whole thing and I moved it all the way down here, the button still went to Adderley. And I didn't have to change any of my code. If I had moved all this down and I didn't have this set up with frame labels going in and labeling everything like this and then, creating the buttons, then I would have had to go in and change all my code to fix all of these buttons to go to now the appropriate frame number, right? So there you go. So just, food for thought there. People, you guys should start getting in the habit of setting up your timeline like this using frame labels as opposed to going in and using the frame numbers. It's just going to make, help you with a lot of headaches down the line here if for whatever reason you've got to, change things. So I'm going to try and go back here and get back to where we don't have frame labels. And we're just kind of back at the beginning. All right, so to change a project over now, don't make this into like this huge issue, which, you will tend to do. And then pretty soon your code is going to get so messed up that you're going to be pulling your hair out and emailing me and saying this isn't working and I can't figure out what I did wrong. For starters in here, just take your file, however it's set up, do go in, and if there are issues that I suggested that you might want to fix, go ahead in and fix those. Change whatever, but get yourself with this ActionScript 3 file, get it all set up and ready to go and nice and clean. And then, of course, for you, Daniel, that would be the one that you kind of want to save and resubmit. And then once that's done, then you just go up to your commands. Now this in your Lynda exercise files kind of walks you through this. But you'll go up and say convert to other document formats. Because right now this is in ActionScript 3. All right, so we're going to say convert to other document formats. And inside here, then you're going to have your two choices of the WebGL or your Canvas. And for this project, I talked about, the HTML5 Canvas. You can browse and put it wherever you want it. I'm just keeping it where it is. And actually, before I even do this, I'm just going to do a save as. And so I'm not overwriting his file here. And I'll just call this Aaron HTML5 Canvas. All right, you guys have to help me remember that that's what I called it when I got to reopen it. All right, so anyway, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and then do my conversion. So once again, just set everything up first in your ActionScript 3, have everything ready to go. And then just go ahead and switch that to HTML5 Canvas and say, okay. And now you're probably going to get a bunch of errors up here. And that's just telling you that some of, the things aren't quite supported and that it's going to change this and that, and it's just kind of giving you, but it'll generate for the most part this successfully, and it shouldn't be, an issue at all. The only thing it's not doing when you go in here, you'll see that your code is still written for, my code's still written for that, but that's beside the point. So this was 10 and whatever. But your code is still written for ActionScript 3, right? And what it also does is it goes in and comments it all out. So, it's all grayed out. So it's kind of telling you, it's this visual saying, this isn't going to work in an HTML5 Canvas document, and that's okay. The next thing that you want to do is go in and kind of set up your publishing. So you would go up to your file, publish settings, in order to kind of make sure that you have this set correctly. Now, for all of you guys, if you have actions buttons, that you're going to be clicking around on, then obviously we don't want to loop the timeline. So that would be something that you would take off in here. And then, the override HTML file and publish, we want to do that. But you can go through these. They're pretty self-explanatory. It says include hidden layers. You can say yes or no, whatever, when you publish. That's up to you. And then you're exporting the image assets and your sound assets, and then it's going to automatically create your JavaScript file as well. So it's going to create all these little files for you when you're ready to go. So you just need to set that up. And the main thing that I usually end up changing is just that looping of my timeline, okay? All right, then you just say okay, and that's ready to go. Now, the last thing, kind of second to last thing, before you can actually export this and see that it's functioning okay. Because right now, if I go in and play it, it's just going to not really do much of anything right now. It's just going to kind of go in and probably just flash through everything as it goes into export, because none of the buttons are working or anything. And you got those errors, when. So there it goes. So it's just going to kind of play through to the end. It's not going to loop it then. And so nothing's functioning, and that's just not functioning because we don't have the code written right. All right. The next thing in here then is to go in and just kind of fix your code. And as you should have done with your ActionScript 3 file, just let the snippets panel go and write that code for you. So what you can do is go and click on with HTML5, everything's got to be named just like it is in your ActionScript 3. So you have to have names here for that to work. And then you just go into your navigation here, into your HTML5 snippets navigation here, specifically under the timeline navigation. And that's where those codes are in that snippets panel. So just let this write it for you, don't make this into some big deal that you, again, just start getting confused and you're trying to maybe write it automatically for yourself or something. Anyway, you have these options in the timeline navigation for HTML5 Canvas. And when you get into WebGL, if you decide you want to kind of experiment with that, because that's really good for the kind of gaming side, creating gaming for mobile devices, so it can actually create 3D animations and 2D animations and so on using WebGL, and then be able to kind of upload and play them on mobile devices, iPads, or whatever. But anyway, here, your options. Stop at this frame, get current frame number, click to go to frame and stop, click to go to frame play, and so on. Under your actions.
I'm just a class thing that came up. This was like just last minute. The teacher decided to have a session, but don't worry, I'm still doing my work, and even then, just consider it my lunch break.
Okay. Alrighty, as long as there's stuff moving through.
Yep. By the way, I got 250 done yesterday, so if I keep going at the current pace, I should be able to get it done before Wednesday.
Awesome.
All right, so
552.
getting back in here. So Daniel, maybe mute your mic there when
Oh,
an outside conversation there.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you could
Okay.
actually hear me then. Sorry.
All right, so underneath all of these in the HTML5 canvas and so on, you have your timeline navigation, and then this lists all the things that you can do with that. So there you go. What we're maybe gonna, and you can play with these, whatever you want want to do with it, go in and experiment. But the main thing is to just go in and get the code for exactly what you did with your ActionScript 3. In this case, this would be go to and stop, go to this specific frame or whatever and stop. So you can click on here and just get the code if you want, or you can click on the button and then double click on, the code to put it in there. But I'm just going to copy it to the clipboard and then go into my frame here, and right below my action here for the utterly, and I'm going to take this commenting out too, so I can kind of see my code come to life here as I place it in here. I'll paste that in. First, I'm going to fix my stop here. So in HTML5 using JavaScript, the way you write the stop is it's going to be this period stop. And that's how that is written inside of JavaScript and inside of this HTML5. You can get that just, if you forget this and you aren't sure why all of a sudden your file just keeps playing and playing and playing, and it's not stopping right at the beginning. Well, just go in here and say stop at this frame, and get that. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and paste this code that I just copied right in here. And I'm going to go ahead and take out my instructions. But the cool thing with these snippets is that all of these have all of these great instructions for you. It tells you exactly what this particular code is going to do, and then it tells you exactly how to go about putting it in here, whatever changes there are that you need to make. So I'm going to just take that out for now because I don't really need it. And then right here, the things that you're going to change, it says instance name here. So I need to change that. And if you recall, the instance, the button up here was Adderley_BTN. And that's why I pasted it underneath here. I just started pointing and realized you guys can't see me pointing. That's why I pasted it under here so that I kind of have this information here so I can, follow it. So I'm going to type in my Adderley, or to make sure you don't have any spelling errors, because that's crucial. If you, end up spelling something wrong, then it's not going to function, right? So, and then that was going to frame 10, I believe. So I'm going to put in 10, and then I'm just going to go ahead and dump this because I don't need it in there anymore. And I'll keep my comment there so that I know this is my Adderley button. All right, and then I'll just do the same for the next. I can just copy this too, because I know that all these are going to be the same. So I can just go in here and copy this and then change the name. And this is going to be Coldtron button. And to make sure that I don't spell anything incorrectly, I'm going to go in here and copy that and then paste that in here. And then this was going to frame 20. All right, I'm going to dump that. And then do the same thing down here. Paste it in. Oh, paste this. And then copy this button. And then change my frame. Now the other thing that's probably going to be an issue here, but I want to kind of play through it and show you what I'm talking about. And then maybe one of you guys can answer it though. But I'm going to play it first and show you that it's probably not functioning yet. Where's that going? 1, right? Yeah. All right, I'm just looking here and everything semi looks good, but there is going to be an issue. So you guys look at this, and when I play this and test it, you can tell me what maybe the issue might be. Possibly. Oh, maybe it's going to work. No, it's not. So none of our buttons work, right? Why? You guys happen to know?
Do we have
Show
to
you the
play them
code
instead-
again.
Do we have to play them instead of stopping them, maybe?
Pardon me?
Should we say go to and play instead of go to and stop?
Nope. But that's a good thought. So here's what the problem is. Here's the issue is whenever, and you'll do this, like if you copy and paste code, then you don't realize one of the issues, which is going to be this whole duplicate frame thing going on. So the problem is that each one of these are named the same here. And you can't have that. Those actions can't be the same. So in other words, you need a different name. And in fact, bottom line 2 is you could call this anything you want. So this section here and here, as long as these 2 sections match, you still need the dot bind, so I shouldn't be highlighting that. But this here, I could call this Adderley dot bind and then change this name to Adderley. But the bottom line, because this here isn't actually technically the function, this is just kind of helping you, telling you what the function is. The actual function is right here. This is just a naming convention. So it's just telling you that this particular item that you're calling right now Adderley, the function is going to be for Adderley, and then the actual function is going to be go to and stop. But point is that I can't have Adderley here, Adderley here, Adderley here, Adderley here, all the way down, because then that's confusing and we don't know what, it doesn't know what it's doing. So this just has to be changed. So I'm just going to put a 2, and you'll see in your action script, if you open up that file, you're going to see this. It'll probably say like underscore 2 underscore 3 underscore 4 or something like that. If you look at your own file there and see, and you had used the action panel to write it, but that's what the issue is that we have all these duplicate functions in here, so it's not going to play. And then I just go in, and you guys can look with me here, make sure that I named everything. I've got it all set up. And I think it looks good. Now we should be able to test this, and it should function. If it doesn't, I don't know what to tell you. Looks good to me, though. There we go. It's my home. And all my buttons work. And now it's HTML5. So this will go and play on a mobile device, be able to upload it to a website and be able, and it'll function. Now I did open up, let me show you kind of the files that this creates too while I'm at it. If I can remember where I saved it. This is where you guys come in helping me remember the name that I did. All right, so inside here, you'll see that I've got all my files here for him, but specifically what this created was these, because this is other files, you know, that I have set up here. And then some that that Aaron had given me. But here are the files that this created. It created, obviously it has saved your Flash file, but it created the HTML file, Canvas HTML file, and then it created the JavaScript file for that. And if I take this and I open it up, now you can open it up, I'm gonna open it up in Dreamweaver, you can open it up in any kind of editing application, you know, that you want. In here you have your code, your script. I'm just showing it in split. Let me go into code view here. But in here, as you can see, it wrote all of that for you. So it created your JavaScript. It's got all your source links to that specific file. When you take this to and you upload this, and then it's got the function and all of your functions written here for the JavaScript and so on. So, I mean, it's just got the whole thing here. And here's the body of it, you can see, is just basically that whole HTML5 canvas that we just created, you know, that is there. So that is what is loaded inside the body. Now, I don't know if either one of you have had any kind of web coding or anything. So this may look completely foreign to you, but what all you really need to know at this stage is that it did go in and create all of this for you. When you take this and you load it, and you can't view it here, so you actually have to go in. I would have to go in and view it within, you know, a web browser. I'll just go in and view it here in Firefox, but there it is. So, you know, again, click around and the whole thing plays and it looks good. But so that's what this is the icon you're going to get. So you won't be able to actually view it in Dreamweaver or in brackets if you use that, or Coda or something else, whatever you might use to view it in. You would have to do it through a browser or upload it to the internet and, you know, view it through there. But when you do that, if you upload it to the internet, then you need to upload this JavaScript file with it. So you just don't go in and upload on your HTML file and think that that's going to play. It's not, because it is reading this. It's specifically linked to this JavaScript file, and that's what's making the whole thing function. All right, questions on that, guys? Anything? Anything that you want me to, that you have questions on with the projects coming up, or anything that you want me to cover? No?
I do have a question on that, actually. In the description for this week's assignment, it says, let's see, where was it? Oh, here we go, written proposal. How does that work when we're just basically porting this into iPad format?
How does the written proposal work?
Yeah, what exactly are we supposed to write a proposal of if we've already got the concept done?
Well, okay. So for every single project, you're going to be asked to write the written proposal. And the idea of the proposal is to go into grave detail exactly how you envision this. And I would include in that, I mean, how you want it to function, what you want it to look like, who your targeted audience is, who you expect to be viewing that. And then at the same time, kind of, you know, thinking about the book and what that talks about with resonating. What are you going to do with the design so that it actually resonates and reaches that targeted audience? And then in turn, for this particular assignment, I would include in there things that you would probably like to have happen within this particular file for that can then be viewed on mobile devices that would not be able to be working with if it were just, say, like a Swift file. So you might want to kind of talk about something like that and how you envision this being able to function on an iPad or on a phone, you know, a mobile phone or something.
Oh, okay. So like so when talking about the general design direction and ideas, that stuff would be the same, but in terms of the actual end product and procedure, that sort of thing, and maybe
I would include that in, definitely. So I would go in and kind of talk about,
okay,
you know, and what you expect, what you want out of it, you know, and how how you want how you want it to function, on a mobile and so on. And with that in mind too, nowadays 75-80% of people pull up their information on mobile devices, on iPads or on phones or whatever. So you always, from here on, as you kind of walk away from this program and you maybe, start doing things on your own or taking this another step, trying to get a master's or something, you want to start thinking about designing all of your documents, whatever it is you do, from web to gaming or whatever it is, with that end result in mind, that it may be viewed on a mobile device. And that may mean writing, if you're doing it in web design, well, you'd be doing several what we call media queries in order to make that responsive, so that you don't have this big long 1024 by something document that when pulled up on a mobile device is going to be really hard to work with, right? So instead you would write media queries so that now if it's being viewed on something that's 768 pixels and below, that it's going to look like this. And if it's 420 pixels and below, it's going to look like this. So this particular site, you might want to design in a long format in order for that to be viewed that way so people can kind of scroll through it. We aren't going to do that in here because, what I'm trying to do is just get you to understand the difference between these and then what the possibilities are. But down the line here, if you continue in this, you want to think about that. So you might actually make this canvas or this stage here, instead of this being 1024, whatever you made it, you might want to make it 420 by 2000 pixels or something like that, and design it with that in mind, with that end result in mind. So just keep that in mind, for future reference. It's a little different in here with how you can get in, in this Animate and so on, this kind of format, because there's no real media queries here to turn around and make it kind of responsive without doing like a lot of JavaScript. But when you get into web, there is. There's a real easy way to go in and just change your CSS properties and add on these little media queries that I keep talking about to make it responsive. But anyway, just food for thought for this. All right, other questions with this? Anybody?
So with the media query stuff, would that so correct me if I'm understanding the WebGL and HTML5 different usages. So would one media query type be call upon an HTML version of this document versus another one pull up WebGL? Is that how that would work? Or are we just talking like different aspect ratios?
Yeah, I don't know. The WebGL now, it's like advanced quite a bit. The last couple of years, so it's advanced quite a bit. And inside there, they do have programming, or when you export it, you can kind of set it up a little differently, I believe, through here in order to maybe function. Media queries I'm talking about specifically with, Dreamweaver brackets with the HTML5 coding. So you're actually writing in, it's kind of written actually as @media query, and then as you write it, you say 768 pixels and below, and then you write in all of your CSS style sheets that reposition and reprogram everything on your website. And you have all of these media queries linked into that, into your code, into your source code and stuff for your website. So that's kind of how that functions. In this kind of thing with animation, this kind of programming, it's not media queries. So it's a specific JavaScript, it's completely different. Media queries are for writing CSS, using CSS3 and writing CSS to basically realign all of the elements on your stage and your website to make it scrollable. I don't know if that answered that for you, but
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
all right. All right, anything else, guys? No? We doing okay? Moving along?
Yeah.